Yeah, okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Caio Bonifacio. Our group, Isabella Ortiz, Jessica Tolomeu, and Gabriel Felipe, and we're going to talk about unreferenced copy. So, Gabriel will start introducing our topic to you.
So, hey there. Before we start, let me walk you through our table of contents, okay? So you can see what we are going to be talking about during a presentation. To start, we have the justification, the reasons why we decide to explore this topic. After that, we have the definition of unreferenced copy. Not so much unreferenced copy, but plagiarism, and you'll understand in a minute. Following that, we have the effects of committing such act and how it can impact you. Okay? We are also going to show you some examples of what we're talking about. Then we are going to showcase our own contributions to the topic, and finally we end with a discussion. So some questions for you to answer or think about it. Okay? Um, all right. For the reasons why we decided to explore this topic, the first reason, we are nearing the end of our course, and next academic year, we will have an academic paper to do, right, in order to graduate. Therefore, it is very important for us to understand and know about this topic. Could you please pass the slide? The second reason is before entering college, we didn't have that much contact or experience with this topic, and we had to learn while doing it. So it was pretty much trial and error. Okay. And lastly, a reference copy is something very easy to commit and overlook. I did it a couple times, to be honest, and if it wasn't for a professor of mine to point it out for me, I wouldn't even know until this day. Okay. So, as for definitions, we brought you a classic definition of plagiarism. Okay. So, according to the University of Oxford, plagiarism is presenting someone else's work or ideas as your own. Okay. So, you simply copy and paste and put your name on it. But that's not what we're looking for. Okay. That's why Garshasing brings three types of plagiarism. Pass the slide, please. The first one is the full plagiarism. And when you get someone else's work and put your name on it, that's it. We have the partial plagiarism, right? When you copy parts of a work, another's work, right? And think it as your own. But the one we are mostly going for is the third one, the conceptual plagiarism. Okay, so it's when you paraphrase an idea or work, but you don't use correct citation or references. Okay, so conceptual plagiarism is something that we believe is a reference copy. Okay, now I'll give the floor to Caio so he can give you an example and talk a little bit about the effects.
Okay, thanks. Well, so as we're talking about unreferenced copy, as Gabriel said, it's not that different from plagiarism. And here we have a meme from the internet, which pictures a question: can I turn in a paper without citing all sources? And even the no is well cited here. It's from Hamlet, right? So it's just a funny thing. Well, I'm going to talk about the effects, the consequences of committing unreferenced copy. So, as Gabriel said, the definitions of plagiarism are big. Like there are a lot of similarities with plagiarism. Um, so the consequences of it are also almost the same. Unreferenced copy, guys, might happen because of a mistake, because of an ignorance about the reference conventions, or maybe even when you think that what you said is your own thought, but it isn't. It's something that you have read before. Uh, and so this being said, the plagiarism and the unreferenced copy have the same consequences of it. And those consequences are, for example, flunking in the activity, getting a 0 for it, failing the course. You can even fail the course. You can get a suspension from your institution, and you can also be expelled from the institution. So as you can see, it's pretty important to not commit unreferenced copy. Jessica will talk a little more about an example of it.
Yeah, well, here we have a news from the New York Post from April 4th. And this is Jamie Floyd, that woman, the picture. She was accused of plagiarism in 45 articles dating back to 2010. And in some of these articles, she tried to summarize others' ideas. And in the other ones, she just copied and pasted entire sentences or entire paragraphs. In both cases, she didn't give credit to the original sources. And after this news got published, she resigned from her post. She was a legal editor and the director of the New York Public Radio's Race and Justice Unit. So it's a good example. And you can go on, please. Thank you. After all the research we've made to prepare this presentation, this seminar to you, we have some thoughts. We got some conclusions that there's a difference between plagiarism and unreferenced copy. That is the intention. Sometimes, as Caio said, you can commit plagiarism without knowing that you are committing plagiarism. Other times, you made it on purpose. But in both cases, it is your responsibility. So the consequences are going to be the same, either you wanted or not to commit it. So we have to be careful to give credit in everything we do and everything we say. Now, Caio is going to give you some tips to not do this.
Yeah. Well, again, reinforcing this idea, plagiarism and unreferenced copy are almost the same things, and you have to be really careful not to do it. So a good tip not to do it is always take referenced notes. Every time that you're taking notes from an article, from a video, from anywhere that you are getting your information, a good strategy is to always take your notes with a reference. Where did I get this from? So this will help you later when you're going to write your piece of work, and then you can make the correct citations, which leads us to the next tip. This is take lessons about reference conventions. Understand how to cite it, the correct way to do it, to put the references in the end, to put the author's name, the year, and everything. This is something pretty important, because if you want to make it, you have good intentions, as said before, but you made it wrong, it might be considered as plagiarism. And also, last but not least, the last one is always ask your tutor in case of doubt. So every time that you're writing a piece of work, you will probably have a tutor, a professor, who is helping you. And this is pretty important. Ask his opinion, and any kind of doubt that you may have, please don't hesitate on talking to them. So I think Isabella now will talk a little more about the topic and research.
Thank you. So here you can see a graphic from a research made by the platform FixJared. FixJared is one of the many places you can go to make sure your work doesn't copy or plagiarize any other work that's been published already. This research was made in the year of 2021 with users from the biggest English-speaking countries around the globe, like UK, USA, Australia, Ireland, Singapore, and Canada. In orange, you can find the percentage of admitted plagiarism or using someone else's words without referencing in their academic work intentionally. And in the color blue, you can see how many of those have been caught. And why is it so important to reference other people's work? Can we go to the next slide, please? Well, let's assume you have written a long and complex work and someone else just steals your ideas, your thesis. This wouldn't feel right, would it? Aside from that, when you include the authors to your references, the reader of your text and your mentor can go and find more information about the topic. In doing this, you are including the author in this intertextual net and showing the readers of your work how accurate was your research. Here we have our references for this work. In the next slide. Yes, we have our references, everything that we use to make this research. And now we have some questions for you, a little debate. Did you ever have contact with lessons about reference conventions before college? In high school, for example, did any of your teachers ever mention this to you? Do you ever think you committed unreferenced copy before? And in what situations? We have to start thinking about this since it's so easy for us to copy. We learn to speak and to do things by copying others, and now we have to do this extra work to bring our references. And last but not least, what aspects of this seminar do you consider useful for your future assignments? Thank you.
Well, that's it, guys. We hope that all of our research and everything we've talked to you about this topic and reference copy and plagiarism can be helpful for you during your course, during your professional lives and academic lives as well. Thank you very much for watching us. And if you need help, don't hesitate to ask your tutor, ask your professors, or even search on the internet. That's it. Bye.